Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral. The Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church where the past is past and the future has infinite possibilities. And with that, we invite you to come and worship with us here on Sunday mornings at 9 and 10:30 a.m. at 1480 Southwest 9th Avenue. Now, I invite you to come in and worship with us here at the Sunshine Cathedral.
The first reading this morning is from the Wisdom of Francis Folks. O thou Christ of God within me, shine forth thy light continually on my path, that I may not turn aside. Be thou my guide every moment of every day. Give me courage, give me strength, give me faith, give me love and patience and tolerance. I would follow all the way. I would cling to thy glorious presence until I too become glorified and a shining light in the world. So let it be for me, and for whosoever else may seek the inheritance of the all-good. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
God is with you. And also with you. A reading from the Gospel according to Luke. Jesus appointed 70 and sent them on ahead of him in pairs to every town and place where he himself intended to go. He said to them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the overseer of the harvest to send out laborers into the harvest. Go on your way. See, I am sending you out like lambs into the midst of wolves. Whenever you enter a town and its people welcome you, eat what is set before you. Cure the sick who are there, and say to them, the commonwealth of God has come near to you." This is the gospel, the good news.
Bible scholar Barbara Rossing coined the term lamb power. She is a professor at the Lutheran Theological Seminary in Chicago, and she is specifically a New Testament scholar and a Revelation scholar. And so when she coined the term lamb power, she was applying that term to the lamb in Revelation chapter 5. And that lamb in the vision of the writer appears to have been slain. And yet all the same, it is now alive and standing in a glorious setting with thrones and all kinds of glory. I recalled that image of lamb power when I read the gospel text for today. Usually when this text rolls around, we tend to focus on the harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. So pray that the overseer will send out laborers into the vineyard. And of course, it is very important that we raise up and equip people to reach out and build up and do ministry in the world, lay ministers and diaconal ministry and music ministry and pastoral ministry. We need people doing what they can to bring peace and hope and healing to the world and to work for justice. And so that's a pretty easy sell. But this time, maybe because of what was going on this week and what we were anticipating and praying for and then the news we finally got, what's leapt out at me was when Jesus said, "I'm sending you out as lambs among wolves." And I remembered Rossing's lamb power. Jesus saying, "I'm sending you out as lambs among wolves. I'm sending you out to make a difference. You'll be vilified, attacked, misunderstood, but you aren't defenseless. Don't sink to the level of the wolves. Rise above it." That's resurrection power. That's lamb power. And it is lamb power that will heal the world. Indeed, it is lamb power that has always offered healing in times of trouble. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. demonstrated lamb power when he challenged oppressive systems simply by sharing a dream. While racist city governments called out the dogs and brought out the fire hoses to repel those working for freedom and equality, Dr. King struck a mighty blow to the heart of racism by standing at the nation's capital and simply daring to say out loud, "I have a dream." He dreamed that things could be better. He shared his dream. He risked his life to share that dream, and that made a huge difference. It was lamb power. Troy Perry exerted lamb power in 1968 when he said that same gender-loving people were children of God. This was startling news to a lot of people. And he said that their love wasn't a sin against God, but was God's gift to them. They weren't just tolerated, accepted, or forgiven, but what they were and who they were is what God made them to be. It was God's gift to them, and they were God's gift to the world. Troy started a revolution and never clenched a fist or made a threat. That's lamb power. And I'll be seeing Troy tomorrow. Before he created the papal retirement plan, a cardinal called Ratzinger told John McNeil, a member of this church now who attends the second service, Cardinal Ratzinger told Father John McNeil that he couldn't be a Jesuit anymore. Father John proved that he didn't have to be a Jesuit to be a minister of good news, to be a healer, a distributor of hope, an advocate, an activist for love, and at 87 years old, he continues to stand on the side of love, and he stands on that side with us every Sunday. That's lamb power. So-called sodomy laws were struck down a decade and a half ago, and with that peaceful ruling of the judiciary, the right to privacy was offered to all Americans. Once again, lamb power in action. A Protestant minister in Richmond, Virginia, later to become a bishop in New Jersey, made headline news when he dared to say that being Christian didn't mean being stuck in the past. He insisted that the scholarship of the academy, the scholarship that every minister is taught in seminary, could actually be shared with the people in the pews. That science was not the enemy of spirituality, that biblical myths could be so named without limiting their power, that faith was not limited to creedal statements, and that holiness was not limited to any one religious tradition. And the wolves cried, "Blasphemy!" But the prophetic voice of Bishop John Shelby Spong redeemed Christianity for many of us and made religion relevant for citizens of the 21st century. He unsheathed knowledge, and that was the only sword he used to unleash a new reformation in Christianity. That was lamb power. In very recent years, the don't ask, don't tell policy in the U.S. military was removed, meaning that lesbi gay servicemen and women no longer have to serve in silence. And just 4 days ago, Prop 8 was overturned, and California again joined the community of states offering marriage equality. And marriage finally was defended when the odious Defense of Marriage Act was obliterated. At the federal level, marriage discrimination has been tossed onto the smoldering garbage heap of history. And how did it happen? With force of arms? No, with lamb power. Do you believe in lamb power? Say yes. Better, sing it. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Of course, it may take another 5 or 10 years to overturn codified discrimination state by state. And as I mentioned in the announcements, the rights of voters in areas with a history of racial and class discrimination were assaulted in the same week that same-gender love experienced a victory. The work of justice is never ending. As soon as one victory is accomplished, there is the next thing to work on. As soon as one broken area begins to be healed, we have to start healing the next. It's never enough. It's never over. That's why we need laborers in the harvest, because the grapes keep growing. And someone has to be working to harvest those grapes. The work of justice is never ending. And even as we celebrate one advancement, we must never forget that there is more to do. But notice how the victories can and must and will be won. Not with slander campaigns, not with threats, not with violence, but with lamb power. It is lamb power that will give people hope beyond horror and peace beyond pain. Lamb power will give the marginalized their dignity back. Lamb power will challenge misogyny and classism and unearned privilege. Lamb power insists, even if I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for God is with me. The psalmist believed in lamb power. In fact, that psalm, the 23rd Psalm, begins with, God is my shepherd. That 23rd Psalm is a psalm celebrating lamb power. Lamb power isn't aggressive. It isn't even defensive. It is the power of knowing. It is the power of trusting. It is the power of communing with the divine omnipresence. Lamb power is the understanding that there is not a spot where God is not. God is all good and the source of all good, and that good is omnipresent. And so since God and God's good is always right where we are, good is always possible. And those of us who focus on that and tap into that and believe that and affirm that, we are unleashing Lamb power into the world. Lamb power is what the Apostle Paul was relying on when he said, the weapons of our warfare are not earthly, but they have divine power. The weapons of our warfare are not like the world of wolves, but they have divine power. The weapons of our warfare are not the get-down-in-the-mud tactics of the world. The weapons of our warfare are hope and integrity and dignity and patience and courage, a peace that passes understanding. The weapons of our warfare are the instruments of Lamb power. We saw that in the opening video today, where the spirit of wolves, as you might say, was present with those hateful placards and those mean slogans and those attacking statements and those efforts to restrict equality and to limit freedom. And what was the Lamb response? People getting married, people waving flags, people standing together, people hoping and loving and just moving forward in the power of hope and love. And Lamb power overcame the wolves time after time after time. There's still more wolves, but the good news is there's also a lot more lambs. And so we continue unleashing the power of Lamb power. The weapons of our warfare are the instruments of Lamb power. Now, do not confuse Lamb power with passiveness. I am not calling us to lay down and be doormats. Those people waving flags were out and doing something and taking some risk. I have been at those protests. They get a little nasty. People can be very mean. And yet they are out there. They are taking risk. They are not fighting fire with fire. They are confronting wolves with Lamb power. But it is an active thing to do. The Lamb of Revelation is also the Lion of Judah. The sovereign of peace is also the one who overturned tables of the money changers in the temple when they confused commerce for spirituality. The one euphemistically called the Lamb of God stood bravely and silently at his trial, offering no rebuttal to the charges made against him, choosing integrity over fear, even when all the might of the Roman Empire was coming down on him. Lamb power doesn't make us doormats or punching bags, but it helps us see that we are more than our circumstances, that we are better than our critics' accusations, and that our mission is more important than personal egos. Lamb power is the power of focus, the power of positive intention, and the power of faithful service. Lamb power is the reminder that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Lamb power is the knowledge that the past is past, and the future has infinite possibilities. The Lamb that was slain is seen standing in glory. In other words, those who are marginalized can know the truth of their sacred value and stand tall in that knowledge, come what may. Lambs are sent out among wolves because in a metaphysical sense, Lamb power is the only real power. The vicious power of the wolves is an illusion. We are sent out to show the illusion to be what it is by living hopeful, joyful, peaceful, accomplished lives as the people God has created us to be. Now, the lamb-wolf dichotomy is Luke's metaphor, and Matthew's before his, actually. Someone who happens to like wolves and thinks they are beautiful, majestic creatures will undoubtedly send me an email letting me know how unfair I was to God's wolverine creatures. Well, we aren't bashing real-life wolves, are we? They are symbols for Luke's Jesus. Luke is writing long before animal rights and political correctness. The wolves in the metaphor aren't wolves at all. They are fears. They are hatred. They are illness. They are poverty. They are injustice. They are abuse. They are depression. They are despair. They are all things negative. And lambs aren't really smelly sheep making annoying ba-ba noises. They are gentle, pure thoughts of hope and courage and peace and joy and self-awareness. These are just archetypes of what is helpful versus what is hurtful, and how we can empower ourselves by knowing our innate goodness and holding a vision of the good that is ours by divine right. When Jesus said he was sending his followers out like lambs among wolves, he was affirming the possibilities that are made manifest when lamb power is unleashed. The affirmation of lamb power is the affirmation of possibilities. And we've seen recently that we can continuously affirm things. And as we continuously affirm the good and hope for the good and wait for the good and work for the good, we will eventually see that good come to pass. We affirm possibilities of wholeness, of joy, of peace, of abundance, of justice, of liberty, and justice for all. And as we focus on these values and remain committed to moving toward them, we find one by one they are made manifest in our experience. Focusing on the good, even when such focus seems a complete fantasy, even when there is no good to be seen outwardly, and yet we see it with the eyes of faith and keep focused on it and call it forth, focusing on the good and believing it already exists for us in the realm of infinite possibilities is what draws us to the miracles and draws the miracles to us. It may take longer than we would like. It took until well into the 20th century for women to get the right to vote. We didn't give up until it happened. It may take longer than we would like, but our faithfulness leads to dreams fulfilled. The wolves can hurt us, but they can't take away from us our dignity, our resilience, our calling to be something new and relevant and life-changing in the world. We've all had hard times, but when we went to peace instead of to pieces, we transcended those hard times and returned to joy. That's lamb power. The optimistic presence of lamb power restores lives. Whether it's the Westboro Baptist Church, or right-wing political commentaries, or family members, or a bully on the playground, critics are almost always revealing more about themselves than they are about those they criticize. Their condemnation may seem like sharp fangs of a wolf, but those fangs can in no way diminish lamb power. In the Talmud, we are told that we do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are, which is why some people are just unbearably hopeful, no matter what is going on. In hopeless situations, they have hope because they don't see things as they are. They see things as they themselves are. We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. When we started believing in our sacred value, it was only a matter of time before Vermont would have civil unions and later marriage equality, and women would serve in record numbers on the Supreme Court and in the U.S. Senate, and work would be done to be more mindful of the differently abled. Once we believed in our dignity, we were bound to manifest that dignity in new and amazing ways. We need to learn to love ourselves more. We need to embrace lamb power even more. Because as we see ourselves as loving and lovable, then we create a more loving world. Look what is possible when we do that. Lamb power floats above the growling wolves to bring about the highest good. The lamb was slain, but wait, now it lives. That isn't said of a wolf, but of a lamb. Lamb power. The wolves are the fears of the world and the sometimes reprehensible behavior that results from fear. But lambs are sent out among those wolves. That is peace beyond pain, and faith beyond fear, and hope beyond hate, and purpose beyond prejudice are sent out to show that fear is almost always false experiences, false evidence appearing real. No wonder Jesus said, "Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." The peace that passes understanding is lamb power. And when we have peace to impart to the troubled situations. Are wolves barking and howling at your heels? Don't worry. You have something that the wolves can't even comprehend, lamb power. And there's nothing in the world like it. No wonder Jesus said, "If you love me, feed my lambs." That's what our ministry is all about. Feeding the lambs with spiritual food so that we can unleash the miracle-working lamb power into the world. And with lamb power, as we've seen time and again, all things are possible. And this is the good news. Amen. Do you need lamb power in your life? The good news is you already have it. There is deep, deep within you a well of infinite peace, a well of indomitable hope. And once we learn that that is there and we learn to turn within and access it, we can take as much of that as we will. And that hope and that peace may not instantly change outward conditions, but it keeps the outward conditions from changing us. We can always have joy. We can always have peace. We can always have hope, no matter what is going on around us, no matter what is happening to us. And as we remain joyful, hopeful beings, lights to the world, then little by little, the world changes to become better and more just and more inclusive. But it all begins by not letting the difficulties infect us. We claim lamb power. The wolves are out there and they are scary. And we're not demonizing people. We're talking about attitudes. We're talking about behaviors. And those scary and painful attitudes and behaviors, they are real. Sometimes the diagnosis, it really is scary. Sometimes the checking account really does look bleak. Sometimes the betrayal really was heartbreaking. And yet that's not the end of the story. That doesn't define who we are. And we can access hope and peace and joy anyway and move forward to better experiences. If that is good news for you, then ministers are coming forward now to anoint us with oil. A simple and ancient reminder that right where we are, God is. Lamb power is right where we are. The power of peace and hope and joy and healing is always within our grasp.
On the night you were betrayed, you took the bread. After giving thanks, you broke it and said, "This is my body, open to you. And as you eat this, remember me."
This is my body, open to you. And as you eat this, remember me. On the night you were betrayed, you held the cup. After giving thanks, you lifted it up. This is my life, poured out for you. And as you drink this, remember me.
This is my life, poured out for you. And as you drink this, remember me. So we thank you for the wine and for the bread. We recall the life you lived and the truth that you spread. In God our Maker, oh heavenly dove, in Christ we celebrate your wondrous love. And God our Maker, oh heavenly dove, in Christ we celebrate your wondrous love.
Here at the Sunshine Cathedral, we practice an open communion. And what that means is you don't have to be a member of this church or any church to receive the sacrament. Just as you are, with whatever your beliefs or doubts may be, you are welcome to participate in this feast of unconditional love. My friends, these are the gifts of God for all the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Hello, I want to thank you for joining us for worship today here at the Sunshine Cathedral. Again, if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, please stop by and worship with us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. If you'd like to find out more about the Sunshine Cathedral, about our resources, or about our books published by our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, or if you'd like to make a donation to the Sunshine Cathedral, please visit us at www.sunshinecathedral.org. Until the next time, may God continue to richly bless you on your journey.